What's up everyone, Sio here with week 6 of the NES. I kind of have to go fast because my laptop's about to die. But this week we're taking on HBK, coach of the Minnesota Volcaronas. He's 4-1, and as you can see by his roster, it's extremely well-rounded and also very, very, very offensive. He's rocking the double Toppy core, which is kind of cool because, as you can see, Toppy Blue is tier 2 in our league. We realized that it doesn't actually have physical fairy coverage to be able to complement its best stat, and while you can run Calm Mind stuff, it's not like as common. But anyways, you can see throughout his roster, it's really well rounded, and more importantly, it like really synergizes well. So depending on like what he brings to this game, this battle could be extremely different from like practice game to practice game. To make matters worse, I got 0 practice this week. For a good reason, at least. My girlfriend and I actually got engaged, so she's now my fiance. We were obviously pretty busy doing all that kind of stuff and celebrating with family and stuff, so I didn't really have much time, obviously, to build. I actually built this on my lunch break at work today, and we ended up battling just like an hour ago. So luckily, my thought processes should still be pretty fresh for this game. So starting off with the team this week, we have Flame Warp Gut Swallow with Protect, Brave Bird, Quick Attack, and Pursuit. Max Attack, Max Speed. Pursuit's probably a weird move to be seen on Swallow. Spoilers, it's also not the only time you're going to be seeing it this week. I am scared to death of Mega Alakazam. I used it last season. I know how terrifying it is if you don't prep for it. So I would rather have basically everything on my team prepared for Mega Alakazam and then not see it, rather than not prep for something and then just have it lose to Mega Alakazam. Because Mega Alakazam just beats shit, and I want to make sure that at least everything can kind of touch it, sort of. So a lot of my prep this week basically just went around that, especially since he traded for it this week, so I feel like he kind of wants to bring it this week. So Protect, Brave Bird, Quick Attack, and Pursuit are just really good overall damage. Protect allows me to scout a little bit, as well as get my Flame Orb off guaranteed if I lead with this, or just get a clean switch in on it. I'm hoping to be able to get a U-turn in, like a slow U-turn in safely to this, but we'll see about that, I guess. Next up is another Scarf Nihilego. In case you can't tell, I like Scarf Nihilego. I think it just is really good. With Sludge Wave, Power Gem, Grass Knot, and Psychic. The EVs are a little weird, I guess, but it's basically enough speed to outspeed Mega Alakazam after, or thanks to the Choice Scarf, with a lot of HP and then max special attack. I wanted moves that more hit neutrally this week rather than straight coverage, I guess, but I do have both my stabs on here, and Grass Knot and Psychic do a decent amount of damage to his team. Next up is another Jopalberry Incineroar. Again, I didn't really have a ton of time to make this, and I'm actually recording this right after my last week's battle, and I also brought a Scarf Nihilego and a Jopalberry Incineroar last week, so I will promise to mix it up a little bit more, but I think this set is actually a little bit better anyway, because it's Taunt, U-Turn, Flare Blitz, and Knockoff. I also know firsthand how devastating Shuckle can be if you do not prepare for it, so I wanted something on the team with Taunt. I almost brought it on Golbat as well, but spoilers, I didn't. But I wanted something on it because I kind of expected to be able to lead Incineroar this week. If he leads Shuckle and just goes for a Shell Smash, I'm screwed because everyone is. So I wanted to be able to have the Taunt and maybe go for the Knockoff to get the leftovers off, U-turn into something that can actually take it out potentially, and just go from there, basically. Next up is Snorlax with Citrus Berry and Thick Fat, Pursuit, Body Slam, Heavy Slam, and Curse. Slam and Snorlax, I guess. With a lot of HP, and then a lot of attack. Again, Pursuit is here, and I actually kind of think Pursuit's going to work slightly better on Snorlax than it will on Swallow. Specifically because of Chandelure, actually, because Chandelure doesn't really have a ton that can touch Snorlax. I am a little bit more offensive than the typical Chandelure counter Snorlax would be, I guess, but because I expect him to basically just have Trick and then like Ghost and Fire coverage pretty much, and Thick Fat, like I'll be able to take that pretty well, and then if he's Choice into stuff and switches out, I can get a Pursuit off, and if not, Oko it and do a ton of damage to it. And then Body Slam and Heavy Slam just hit a bunch of other stuff on his team. Heavy Slam is mostly there for Shuckle, if I'm being perfectly honest. I can kind of curse up a little bit and still be able to outspeed Shuckle. well, I don't really have to worry about outspeeding Shuckle, I guess, but Snorlax is also not really that fast, so gotta somewhat be aware of it, I guess. Next up is good old buddy Golbat with Toxic Roost, Future Turn, and Brave Bird. I max defense this time instead of max. I actually might have been max defense last time I brought Golbat, but I basically wanted this as like a Valiant counter this time, because even Stone Edge only does like 30% or something. It's a little risky to be bringing double poison against a team that has double psychic, or triple psychic, I guess, because I forgot about Meloetta for a second. But honestly, outside of the psychic types, like Golbat and Nihilego do a ton of work, and I actually kind of feel like I have a decent amount for the other psychic types, like not a ton, but enough to kind of cover for it, I guess. So Toxic and Roost are obviously just there to wear stuff down, keep myself alive. U-turns to pivot into something, and then Brave Bird's there if I'm in against like Cavalion or something and need to do damage to it instead of just letting it sit there and set up in my face, I guess. And then finally we have kind of the weirdest set of the week, I guess, with Expert Belt mixed Zygarde with Extreme Speed, 1000 Arrows, Crunch, and Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave is obviously there for Tapu Bulu. It also hits Tapu Fini pretty well. I don't know if either or both are coming, but I figure one of them's probably got to come for Zygarde. And also, since I haven't really brought Zygarde recently, honestly, I kind of wanted to bring it again and stay in tune with it, I guess. And then this is basically just enough HP to be able to live a Scarf Staraptor's final Gambit if he just decides to turn, run, lead, sacrifice. I don't think he will, but HBK also does like suicide leads, so I have to kind of be prepared for that. If like I see that he leads it, I could theoretically switch into Zygarde, take the final Gambit, and still like not die. I don't think he'll go for it because I do have Mimikyu, but I know he's risky enough to be able to go for it, so I just wanted to be prepared for it. So let me switch over really quick. Alright, so the first time I tried to commentate this was a disaster, so I'm just going to start over. As you can see, he brought the double Psychic and double Tapu Core that I was scared of, as well as the Cavalion and the Chandelier that I was scared of. So this battle is going to potentially go sour pretty fast, but that's okay, because I wanted to bring a team that I thought would be pretty fun to play against him, as well as a team that I felt pretty comfortable with. Because that's kind of an issue I've had this season, is I'm bringing a lot of stuff that I'm not really super familiar with, and it's going up against a lot of stuff the coaches know how to use already. So I'm going to go ahead and lead Zygarde this game because it punches a hole in something. It doesn't really matter what he goes into here because I can live anything from full and fire off pretty decent wall breaking damage to anything on his team. He ends up leading Mega Alakazam, which is nice because I don't expect him to be HP Ice because Zam does get Dazzling Gleam, and if I'm a bulky Zygarde, Dazzling Gleam actually doesn't kill from full. So I expect him to switch out here. I'm still going to go for a Crunch to play it safe in case he tries to do it. Which kind of sucks because I wish I would have Sludge Waved, but I didn't want him to go straight into Cavalion at that point. I expect him to go for a Moonblast here, playing it safe, so I'm going to go into Golbat. As he goes for the Ice Beam, it's super effective and actually is almost a 2-hit KO, which is kind of annoying. I have to go for a Roost to make sure I can actually take on this Cavalion that's in front of me. If that was a Sub-Calm Mind Tapu Fini, by the way, that would have actually not been the greatest, because my initial thought when I switched into Golbat was, oh, I'll Toxic it, because I can infiltrate behind a Sub, and then I kind of forgot about Misty Terrain, which would not have been that good. Actually, I don't think Infiltrator breaks Misty Terrain. I'm not 100% on that, but thankfully, spoilers, it doesn't come up this game. So I'm able to take anything this Cavalion wants to go for, so I'm just going to go for a slow U-turn right now. As you can see, that Stone Edge, even though it's super effective, does nothing. So I'm going to go into Incineroar because at -1, it definitely does nothing, and I can just keep out the U-turn chain at this point, as I'm kind of stalling out Misty Terrain a little bit. So I decided to go into Swallow here, as you can see, because I want to be able to get my Flame War boost. Tapu Fini at this point doesn't really have the best answers on my team, because like he can just kind of keep pivoting out into other stuff to keep taking the hits that I would like to do to wear it down. So I decided to go Swallow, get my Flame War boost, and just start firing off a Brave Bird onto whatever wants to switch in, because nothing really wants to switch into a Brave Bird right now. as you're about to see, Cobalion gets 2-hit KO'd. I don't really want to risk this thing being scarfed, but rather than just hard switching out and getting red on a prediction, I actually want to go for a protect here and see if he stays in. If he decides to stay in at this point and goes for a Stone Edge, I can assume that he's scarfed. I can assume that he's pretty confident he was going to outspeed, obviously, so I can kind of play around it accordingly. So it's worth the 5% damage to me to be able to go for the protect here, or 6% I guess, because as I go into Incineroar to get another, I would have been able to take that pretty well. He actually goes for a Roar, showing that he's not scarfed, which would have meant that if I would have just fired off another Brave Bird, Swellow would have gotten a kill, but that's okay. He roared me out into probably the worst thing for Cobalion to like be in against, so I 100% expect him to switch this time, so I just go for the Sludge Wave, because I just need to get a little bit of damage off on something. Thankfully Tapu Fini takes more damage than I was expecting. I didn't really actually expect Sludge Wave to do that much, honestly. So I go into my actual thick fat Pokemon this time. As you can see, it does nothing. If he's not Taunt here, I'm actually free to fire off a Curse, set up a little bit, and actually do a ton of damage to his team. So I'm going to try to go for that here. But as you can see, he does have the Taunt, so good prep on his part. I'm instead just going to go for a Body Slam now to try to get a little bit of damage. Again, play number 2 that he does really well. He goes straight into Chandelure. I don't want my Snorlax to get tricked, because if my Snorlax gets tricked, it's kind of not going to really be able to take on Alakazam nearly as confidently later. So I have to be careful here. I'm going to go ahead and go into Nihilego, because I expect him to trick me a Choice Scarf here. And if he just tricks on Nihilego, who already has a Choice Scarf, it doesn't really matter. It's also the best thing to take if it has a different item. So it does have specs, which is actually kind of annoying because a lot of my calcs weren't with specs. Like, it honestly could have been a worse item because I am a full special attacking Nihilego, so specs are going to hurt something. But I'm just going to go ahead and try to get damage that I can now, because obviously I can just go for a Power Gem. If I want to predict, I can predict. He goes for a Memento, as he does have the Scarf to be able to outspeed me, and goes into Zam though, which is pretty terrifying. I don't want to stay in with Nihilego now, honestly, but my team doesn't switch in well to Mega Alakazam, because Mega Alakazam is just not something you can switch into. I don't want to go hard Incineroar and take a Focus Blast, eat my Chople Berry, and then just have him switch out, because I kind of want to save that as a surprise for something, not just like to take a random hit, I guess. And obviously if he just goes for a Psychic, since I am with a Poison type, I can't just go into Golbat and take that. So minimizing risk here, I guess. I go Snorlax because it's the only thing that can kind of take on everything. He gets Thick Fat and goes for a Focus Blast and lands it, does a ton of damage, but thankfully I'm Citrus Berry and get back up into the range where I'm not going to die from the next Focus Blast. He's also not going to kill me with a Psychic or a Side Shock or whatever he has, so unless he goes for a Calm Mind here, he's not going to be able to kill me with anything. So I figure this is the perfect chance for me to go for Pursuit. Like, if this doesn't work here, it doesn't work here, but like, I'm never going to get this opportunity ever again. So I click Pursuit as he switches out, which is awesome because I almost kill Mega Alakazam. He told me after the game that he was a super bulky Mega Alakazam to be able to take on Swellow Quick Attacks as well as Zygarde Extreme Speeds, and that Pursuit actually completely like fucked things up for him, so I was super happy to be able to pull that off. Honestly, it's like, I'll just say it's the best play I've made this season. It's not really that high of a standard personally, but it was a pretty good play that I was pretty proud of. So now that he's in with Tapu Fini again, I don't really have a ton for this. So I'm just gonna, I think I just stay in to do damage. I don't actually remember. Oh no, I go hard now. I go because I don't expect him to do anything but taunt, because he doesn't want me to set up again. Honestly pretty risky, because if he did have a water type move and went for it there, Nihilego just drops. But because I'm specs, obviously, I'm able to just do a decent amount of damage here. I want to do, okay, so there's going to be a lot of editing, because I'm just going to edit back this take of this, because I actually messed up the turn order and it kind of mattered a lot. So now that I'm in with Nihilego, I'm just going to click Sludge Wave, because it does decent damage to everything but Cobalion, and I'm not really scared of Cobalion at this point. I switched in on the taunt here because I was expecting him to go for taunt on my Snorlax, not letting me get a curse up. Honestly, I actually don't think a curse there would have been the right play, but I did expect him to go for the taunt, so I went hard Nihilego anyway. He makes the good double into his Cobalion there as I just go back into Golbat because he's not going to do anything. Like, that's quad resisted and Cobalion's already pretty weak anyway. So I could go for a Roost here, but I decided, I think, here to go for a U-turn just to get my momentum while I can. Yeah, so now I'm going to go back into Swallow here. Sorry, I'm trying to remember exactly what I did in the order. So I'm back into Swallow because nothing, again, takes a Brave Bird. This thing actually takes Brave Bird better than anything on the team, and I want this thing to be Brave Birded, so I'm just going to fire it off now. This was supposed to be more of a Zam counter, but honestly, I'm perfectly fine with it taking out Tapu Fini because it's kind of proving to be a pretty big nuisance to my team. So now I go Nihilego. At this point, I'm pretty confident that Grass Knot will guaranteed OHKO. I also sort of forgot I was Spec, so I could have probably gone for Grass Knot last time in OHKO'd, but I'm going to go for Grass Knot this time, because if he makes the hardest read of all time and goes Tapu Bulu on me, first of all, I don't know why the fuck he would do that, but it still does a little bit of damage, and if he goes Cobalion like I expect him to, I should still be able to 2-hit KO. And he's already shown that he's not Scarfed, and I don't think he has max speed or enough speed to be able to outspeed me, so I'd be willing to risk that at this point. So he does go Cobalion. I get the Grass Knot crit, which I don't know if that was a big deal because I was Specs at that point. But either way, Zam comes in and gets a Beast Boost, which is the last fucking thing you ever want to see. And it's at this point that I'm just like, well, what dies at this point? Because something's got to. Nihilego is not the answer, obviously Snorlax is, because Snorlax has already done its job and done the damage that it needs to do to Zam. So Snorlax drops, he gets a Beast Boost, which is terrifying, but thankfully because of the pursuit from earlier, even though he's bulky, I'm able to actually kill with an extreme speed here. I don't want to over predict, so I'm just going to go for it, even though I fully expect him to switch out. Like, if I would have went for a Sludge Wave on that turn, this Tapu Bulu's gone, but I can't risk that, because if I lose Zygarde on an over predict, like, that's like my season, basically. So, gotta play it safe here, go for the extreme speed. It lets Tapu Bulu in, but that's okay, because I have Incineroar as well as Golbat, which are fine. Him being a +1 is a little scary because I don't want him to Stone Edge a +1 and get a crit. Thankfully he has Zen Headbutt, which doesn't actually do enough to be able to kill me off there. So I'm able to land that Toxic because I'm a poison type, it's guaranteed, and he doesn't double into Tapu Fini, obviously. So now I can Toxic stall a little bit. I'm going to go hard Incineroar just to get the Intimidate off. He actually shows cool tech here though and has the Adrenaline Orb to get a speed boost. As you can see, my laptop's running low, so I'm going to try to hurry this up a little bit. So he gets the speed boost, which is really cool. He's actually +1, +2, +1 now. But I don't want to take a superpower because I still expect this thing to have superpower. So I'm just going to go back into Golbat and sack it off and try to get another Intimidate off. He goes for that, thankfully, so it's like the best of every world because now I get to go back into Incineroar, get the Intimidate off, and now he's actually at the -1 that I wanted him to be at. I'm gonna again double out into Zygarde, expecting the superpower because I again need to kind of not let Incineroar take damage at this point. At -2, even a regular Horned Leech isn't doing that much, so Zygarde actually gets used Sludge Wave twice this game and gets a kill from it, which is nice. I can't let Azelf go for a nasty plot here if it's Focus Sash, so even though I want to 100% either switch into either Incineroar or Nihilego, both of which could take this move depending on what it's going for, I have to stay in and go for damage, so I go for a Crunch here. Extreme Speed probably actually would have been better to guarantee pop the Sash, but that's okay. So I go Nihilego as he goes into his Tapu Fini because I can just kill anything with a Power Gem at this point. He gets to go back into Mega Alakazam, which is scary because again I have to give this thing a Beast Boost. Because I'm not Scarfed, I don't outspeed this thing anymore, so I have to just let it kill me at this point. And at this point I have to hope that Incineroar can take a +1 Focus Blast if it lands. And of course it lands. Incineroar eats the Chople Berry, and it does actually land, thankfully, but now I'm in against what I have no idea what this Azelf is actually going to do. Like, I assume it's Sashed at this point, so I just go for a knockoff and kind of expect it to take me out with the Dazzling Gleam. And instead goes for Energy Ball, though, because it was Scarf. which I'm going to slightly spoil right here, because it needed to be able to outspeed all of my other stuff, and somehow, some way I managed to pull that game out. Great battle, HBK. I know we didn't really have as much practice as normal, and I'm sorry if I kind of sprung this battle on you, honestly. Like, to be perfectly honest, I was so busy this week that I was messaging him last night saying that if I wasn't able to battle by today, like, just take the forfeit win. But honestly, like, thank you for battling, because this ended up being a really good game for us to show off on both sides, I think. Your prep was awesome. I feel like my prep, for being as rushed as it was, actually worked out pretty well. And I feel like this is the first game that I've had this season where everything kind of came together. Like, I'm actually happy with all of the sets that I brought. I'm happy with all the plays I made in the game. I'm happy with all the plays my opponent made in the game. I know there have been a couple of times where, like, I haven't really focused on that as much as I've wanted to, but, like, honestly, I feel like HBK played this game as well as he possibly could have as well, which, in my opinion, makes this probably the game of the season for me so far. Like, no offense to any of the other coaches that I've battled this season, but, like, to me, this game means a lot, because, like, it was just a really good back-and-forth battle, as well as being, like, a pretty clutch, like, every item ended up mattering kind of game, which is kind of cool. So great battle, dude. Good luck with the rest of your season, because obviously you're still ahead of me in the rankings. Next week we continue the Tour de Friends, I guess, and end up battling Beard, aka the New York Aqua Jets. I think he's also 4-1 right now. Let's actually go check this before I offend anyone by saying their record's wrong. Yeah, so he's he's actually even better than HBK this season, unfortunately. So again, we got our work cut out for us for the entire season, I guess. But thanks for dropping by. Sorry this one took a little bit more editing, I guess. I was a little sloppy with this because I thought I wouldn't need to watch back the game at all because I just had it an hour ago. Apparently I did. But my bad. Have a good day, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.